What?
Sorry.
Welcome to Pocket Cast, the very professional and very serious podcast for people with frontal pockets. Some call them frockets, but not in our society. Get the fuck out of here with that shit. You inbred fucking trailer trash piece of shit. You got me so upset I can't speak. Fucking don't call it a frocket. We are the Front Pocket Society of Frontal Lobe Men. I lost it. I don't know.
I don't think you had to save it.
I think I could have at least closed it out.
I think we're going to keep some of that.
Welcome to Pocket Cast, the podcast about the DS and the DS library. I am joined by
We'll get it one of these days.
someday, joined by Ed, who can be reached at...
Oh, you're not going to introduce my Twitter handle?
No, I hate it.
That's rude.
Still hate it.
All right. Well, you can reach me at Unicorn.
Spell it out for the people.
It's phonetic. You don't even have to spell it.
Should
You
I just tell them
you
there's
just
a
say
zero?
it and it knows. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So there's a zero in there somewhere. It's Unicorn. Unic EUNUCH Horn H0RN. It's that simple.
And I'm Fletcher. I can be reached at GapToothMF on Twitter as well. Did you say the Twitter part?
We talked about it beforehand. I felt like it was implied.
At me.
Yeah, at me.
Like if you say at me, people know.
So I'm co-hosting today.
And I'm hosting today.
Woo!
Woo! Got the crazy cat in the house too. You're gonna hear some meowing and some thuds and some scratching. We're trying out the new studio today.
Yeah.
We're there. Please bear with us for any technicalities that we run into.
Oh, dude, the audio has been different every episode.
Every
so far.
episode, yeah.
It's
great.
great.
I think it's gonna continue to change for at least 3 more episodes.
Oh, at least.
I can guarantee you that if you have ADD ears, then we are suited for you.
Yeah, there's so many flavors of audio depth to really pick through. It's great.
Actually, we are really good at it, and what we're doing is we're hypnotizing people by the canter in which we fade in and out, and the cat pushes up on the microphone.
Yeah. No, it's intentional for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So Fletcher suckered me into doing this podcast, where allegedly we're going to attempt to review.
You keep adding
the
doubt into
the disclaimer term. Yeah. Allegedly, the supposed 100%. It is. How many titles are in the USDS library?
Over 1,000. Over probably roughly. I'm gonna say 1,500.
That's a lot of weekends, dog. That's a lot of weekends.
I mean, we're gonna go through those weekends either way. Those weekends are gonna happen regardless.
Dude, don't quote me to me. Don't do that.
It's a good advice.
It's distasteful.
It's a good piece of advice.
So, yeah, allegedly, we're going to review, or attempt to review.
I wouldn't even
roughly,
say
review. Talk about,
discuss, experience.
Yeah.
Play a little bit of.
Yeah. Feign expertise.
I like that.
That's a good one.
That's really good.
That's one for the docket for sure.
Absolutely.
So we're going to feign expertise on roughly 1,500 Nintendo DS games. Yeah.
It's very doable.
Super doable.
It's way more doable than some other libraries, I feel like.
I feel like this goal is more attainable than, say, I don't know, retirement.
Because I think after this, we go on to the Game Boy Advance.
Dude, we're going to be doing taxes in 0G VR at that point.
Well, hopefully we will have something to take care of our arthritis.
Oh, yeah, hopefully. That would be nice.
Yeah.
Maybe we can get new homegrown genetically modified spinal cords or something.
There's just some medical marijuana.
Yeah, that'd be nice too. I'd settle for that.
Yeah, that would work. Work well enough.
Yeah.
You can't complain.
Yeah.
Become complacent.
Little future weed.
Let the man do whatever he wants because you're all fucked up on your arthritis medicine.
Can you get fucked up on arthritis meds?
I mean, if it's weed.
Yeah, that's a good point. All right. Let's recap last week real quick. Last week we played Solatu Robo, the Red Hunter. Or was it Red the Hunter?
Red the Hunter.
It was Red the Hunter.
Red the Hunter. Yep. Did you continue to play that at all?
Oh, no. No, I did not. I did not, in fact.
No, I didn't.
I thought about it.
Yeah, I thought about it.
Yeah.
I looked at it once, and then I was like, I've experienced it.
That was the conclusion I came to.
I don't. So, if you weren't sold on our synopsis of it last week,
yeah,
I'm going to stick with it even more so and let you know it's not good enough to even pick it up again. Like, once it's out of mind and you have another game on mind, I was way happier with our selection this week.
Oh, yeah. All I could think of was we have 1,499 additional titles yet to cover. When I have time to pick up Solatu Robo again, I'll let you know. So thanks, Red, for the adventure last week. This week, we were playing Glory of Heracles, which is also Hercules.
So,
just a renaming of...
Do you know Greek mythology?
Oh, I do.
I thought so.
Yes.
Because Heracles is the...
son of Zeus.
But that's the actual name. Hercules is a rename, like it's a redoing of the name. Morgan knows quite a bit about...
Is it the difference between the Roman and Greek names, perhaps?
Maybe. I'm not...
I'd have to check that.
I'm not
but
sure,
I wonder if that's the case.
Because I know Hera is Hercules' mother in the original tale of Hercules, or Heracles.
Yes, that sounds right.
So I guess that has something to do with that.
I did mean to brush up on my Greek mythos before this session.
I was going to, but I was really just relying on you.
Honestly, I would have assumed the same. I will tell you, it didn't seem to matter too much.
I was gonna ask you that. I was very curious about how much of that story does it follow. If I was a Greek mythology person, would I know the names of these people?
Names. So that's actually the main point. Names is pretty much where it lives. The game pulls a lot of names, a lot of locations, names and locations pretty much. So names in general, and just weaves it into a story.
So your companions, those are all names from Greek mythology.
I would say some of them are, and most of them are period specific names. Some of them are kind of bastardizations of common names of the era. It really just depends. But not all of it was necessarily a direct pull from Greek mythology.
So I did some research, of course, on it.
As one does.
And it was one of the first RPGs to do Greek mythology. I think it still might be like one of the only ones to do it. Whereas everything else is high fantasy, medieval times, fantasy world, cyberpunk, future, what have you. This is all super, like it was the first one. 89 is when it came about, the first Glory of Heracles.
The first title or this one?
First title.
I think this is like the fifth?
This is the fifth title, the first American release, and the last.
The last one. They haven't had another one since. No. I guess it was a big hit in Japan. Or at least it hit enough for, 4 other episodes?
And so that's cool, whatever. It's the very first one is very much so a Dragon Quest clone. But
okay.
in that same sense, I guess the first Final Fantasy is a Dragon Quest clone, and it just is like Doom, where it starts out a genre.
Yeah.
So some of the first titles to come out following it are called clones. But I would say this is it slightly reminds me, it's reminiscent of a Dragon Quest game,
Okay.
but it does so much of its own in terms of battle. You're looking at a JRPG. You've got the overworld map that you go on to go from town to town or different locations. And then each town location you go in, and it's a safe zone. When you're out on the world, you've got the random encounters, turn-based combat.
Yeah.
Turn-based combat's a little different in this, though.
There's a lot going on.
There's a lot to discuss. I think we might save that just for
The
combat section. We're gonna have to have.
I think that's gonna be the bulk of unpacking for this game.
Yeah, it's a lot to. I didn't realize how much it was to regurgitate until writing it all out, because they do a good job of delivering it all to you. I think,
Agreed.
But when you're then having to write out your notes about it, you're like, oh my god, there's a lot going on.
Oh
this.
yeah.
Then you've got a bunch of characters that come into play.
Mm-hmm.
Really pretty fun. Did you enjoy that?
Yeah, I liked the characters. The dialogue was okay, very very clearly driven from a Japanese anime-esque dialogue delivery, very animated, witty. There were some decent puns. I will give them credit. There were some good puns, even a couple of throwbacks to some other games.
Yeah,
which were subtle and nice.
The ones that one I really liked is where, because you play as just like any other JRPG, you have amnesia, and you're found, and eventually along the way, you need to choose what your name is going to be.
Mm-hmm.
And before you choose the name, they say something about, how about the name Pit?
Yep.
And someone says, well, Pit, that's not a very Greek name, or that doesn't sound very Greek at all. And that being a reference to Kid Icarus. When I first read it, I was like, who is Pit? I know who Pit is, but I can't think of who. I can't place the character. And eventually, I've got it. Yeah, okay. It's funny. Very funny.
I knew it immediately from Smash Bros. That's where I remembered it from.
Yeah,
but I've never actually played a Kid Icarus game. So what did you end up naming your character?
Abel. That's what I name.
Okay.
I name all of my characters Abel. When I played Neverwinter.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Neverwinter.
Is that where the name was born from?
Yeah, it's actually it's a name that I considered changing at one point because of how much I use it. It comes from, I was trying to think of a name that fit the fantasy world.
Okay.
And I had an ale and a stout sitting next to me.
That's where it came from?
That's where Abel Stout comes from. Yeah.
I hate you so much.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, that's as good as any other origin story.
Yeah,
I can't be too mad about it. I went with Link. Man, I grew up playing Ocarina of Time so hard. And every time you get to change your character's name, and I thought, why would I do that? Link is a badass. And they're like, oh, it's time to name your horse. What would you like to name it? Why the fuck would I name my horse anything other than Epona? It's the best name for a horse.
Epona is a great name for a horse.
It's
maybe that's just the Zelda influence.
Yeah.
But I do agree as the best name for a horse. Do you feel that way then if we're playing a game where you choose the name, but when you go to choose a name, it already has a name assigned? Do you stick with that character's name then?
No, I change it to Link every time.
I have
respect for the game.
I have to stay with it. I always stay with the names.
No, don't get me wrong. There is a part of my soul that says respect the creators, respect the unique story of not grow up. You grow up. Ocarina of Time, best game hands down.
It's
ever.
a great.
It's a great game.
It's a great game. I don't know if I want to say best game of all time.
And that's fair.
I'll definitely put it up there. I agree with you.
But every time I get to name a character, Link, dude.
Hey, I respect it. I respect the consistency.
And it's worth noting that it's capital L, lowercase the rest. Because there's some people out there don't have time on like the old school games on the name selection, especially like specifically for Ocarina of Time. You've got one set on the left of all uppercase caps, and then on the other side, so you have to go all the way over. So I know there's a lot of people taking that shortcut and doing all caps Link. That's some bullshit. Take the time, respect yourself, drop over to the other set, give yourself some lowercase letters there.
You don't like doing the butt dick or some funny name like asshole.
I appreciate the humor. I do.
I always love that when you start a game like that and it's really funny, but then you start getting into the game and it's just like every now and again this just makes you giggle and pulls you out of the experience a little bit.
So I did do that one time on Ocarina of Time, and then I got to the point of the game where you're leaving the forest, which is still fairly early on, and you have to say goodbye to Soraya or whatever the fuck her name is, and then she calls you
Sora?
What?
Isn't her name Sora?
I refuse to accept whatever pronunciation that is.
I think that's
It's S. Oh, dude, don't make me look it up.
I believe
I thought it was Saria.
I just Sora's song or something like that, right? I just always thought that. I feel like I've heard people pronounce it that way. I'm not good at pronouncing video game names of anything. In fact, going through this game, Glory of Heracles, there you go, doing it wrong. I would read people's names and I was like, walked out into the wood. I could not figure out the names of locations. Well, locations are pretty easy because they are truly historical locations you've learned about. Sparta, Olympia.
Yeah, at least in context of this game, that's much easier. Yes.
Whereas the names of the characters, I'm like, Axius.
Oh, dude, I love language and like lingual roots and stuff like that. Like root languages, super fascinating to me. And just for context, the character's name from Ocarina of Time is spelled Saria. So, and I think there are various versions out there that might have it spelled Sara. I distinctly remember growing up with a version that had the I in there. So I always thought it was Soraya, but it also could be Saria or something totally different. But Sora, I'm not gonna accept that.
I'm not saying I'm not an expert.
No, that's fine.
No, that's just what I thought.
And you're allowed to consume the game hearing it pronounced whatever way it works. I just could have sworn that her name was like... Because it doesn't detract from the...
I feel like just hearing people say it in YouTube videos, something like that, is where it's Sora's song or whatever the fuck the song is that you learned from her.
Yeah, her...
Or you have
her song. Yeah.
But
anyway, getting to that point in the game and she's telling you goodbye, and it's one of the most emotional parts of the game. And then she's like, "Hey, don't forget about me, dick butt." And you're like, wow, I've just ruined this moment. And so I've always felt such immense guilt and shame over doing that. And so I don't do that anymore. Out of respect for the digitally rendered characters with pre-programmed dialogue.
It's someone's story, right? It's someone's passion. It's a lot of people's passion. That they've put a lot of time into.
I was big on it as a kid. It was huge.
Yeah, so I respect the respect. Have we missed anything on covering the quick coverage of the glory of her? The GOH.
The GOH.
It's not even the. There is no the at the beginning of the title.
No, it's just glory of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We are not great with our titles.
Yeah.
So far, but hey,
we've also had some weird ones.
Yeah.
Sola to Robo, come on.
There's a game called Nostalgia. I don't think we'll mess that one up.
I don't think we'll fuck that up at all.
No.
I think we'll be just
Avalon Code. We haven't even played
Avalon
it,
Code?
but we've said the name perfectly so many
good.
times. Ugh.
Call of Duty, nailed it.
Easy. The World Ends With You. That could almost be a tongue twister for a child.
Could be.
Maybe.
That should be the only criteria for picking our next game.
The name is easy to pronounce.
Can we pronounce the name?
I like that.
That's a good one. All right, so Man, there's not a whole lot else to go in. I did want to talk about the writer and composer, just in brief. I've
Yeah,
got like
absolutely.
maybe 2 minutes.
Let's get into it. If I recall, as a very general looking over it, because there's not a lot to research on this game versus Solo 2 Robo. I mean, as far as pulling up anything on your searches, there was nothing I could really find on the development of it. Just the fact that it was the first release. I read a bit about the first release in America. I read a bit about the transferring of people from one company to another to then be picked up by
what was that,
Nintendo.
Data East? Does that sound
something
right?
like that. Yeah, Data East then gets picked up by Pound.
Yeah, I'm gonna let you go with that because I don't know.
I don't know. PAON, and then they get picked up by Nintendo.
Yeah,
and that's where this game gets published on the DS. It was like a 15-year. Once again, it was a big gap. Maybe not 15 years. Maybe it was 10 years or something. Once again, there's a big time gap between this game and its predecessor.
well, the first one came out in '87.
87. I thought it was 89.
And then the second title was '89, and then you had one in '92. Oh, a second one in '92, and this one was referred to as the Snap Story, and I got the impression that was a colloquial term that meant something to somebody. I don't know what a Snap Story is, but that came out.
They were way ahead of their time on that one.
That was huge.
Wow, they just saw
Posted to their
Snapchat.
Snap Story. Nobody else has Snap, but they got it.
They got it.
And then you had one in '94, and then that was the fourth iteration. Yeah. And then you had the Japan version of Glory of Heracles released in 2008, and then the North American adaptation in 2010.
Yeah. Quite a long time.
But yeah, everything I have in here in my notes are just bullet point facts. There's no surplus of really anything extra, quite like we had for Solo 2 Robo.
Did you find the interviews about on their website? They had interviews with the two people from the team that made GOH.
I mean, I may have
had that they talked about the composer who they had pulled from the original games. This was, and the writer too. The writer had worked on the third and fourth one, I believe. That worked on the fifth one.
Yeah.
And he was in his early 20s, and so he had talked about having some hesitation to going back to the game, but then feeling like he needed to show how much he's grown and how much better the story could be told compared to how they told it the last time, due to his writing. Like, he'd taken it all on his own of, like, I was young and I had a lot of growing to do. And
okay, I gotcha. You know, I was looking at the writer's other works, and this dude was all over the place. This guy wrote one of the other things he's accredited for is the storyline to the subspace emissary portion of Super Smash Bros. Brawl. He wrote the story for that.
Is there a story? I've never really played Brawl. I played Melee, and that's where I fall off on my Super Smash Bros.
Yeah, you play through the main game campaign thing. I don't remember what it's called, but if you play through the main single player mode or what have you, there is a general plot, and it's actually pretty good. It's entertaining. It certainly does a lot more for a Melee game than you would expect it to have, so it's pretty entertaining. But I know he was on a number of Final Fantasy games. I think he worked on all of the Kingdom Hearts titles.
Wow, I do recall seeing that. Yeah.
And then I threw the Smash Bros. Brawl storyline in there because I thought
that
I was surprised to see that in there.
That's an interesting place to be at, and I can see it kind of because of HAL Laboratories that does Super Smash Bros. They also do Kirby, and I just seeing the comical feel of Kirby and the comical feel of GOH. I could almost see where that would come into
Yeah.
they wanted to have him on the team for something. That makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, and it's not bad.
No, it's fun.
It's entertaining.
And it's just, there are parts where it's kind of funny how much it takes its time on some parts, where are just idle conversation almost between your few heroes in your party, and then when you get into some actual storyline or someone deciding to join up with you, or they have to go off on their own journey, it's very and I have to go now, and that's it's very, so it's funny where there's times where he really digs into things, and then other times where they're just, all right, we got to get the story going. Come on.
Go.
And I did put almost 9 or 10 hours in.
Okay.
And I feel like the story did not open up that much.
I held off on doing any of my actual game research until like the last minute, because I didn't want to ruin anything. And I kind of thought I was missing out on something too, and then I'm reading up and doing a little bit of research on the title and discovering that seems to be the general consensus. There's not a whole lot going on with the story. It's there. That's about it.
Yeah, and
it's
does
entertaining
service
at times, and it does have some good jokes, and it's well written. But the story itself is pretty weak. Again, overutilizing some pretty standard tropes, like you mentioned, the amnesia thing. I was very surprised to see a lot of these other well-known and very popular titles like Final Fantasy and Kingdom Hearts thrown into the mix in terms of the writer's background. So that was kind of a bummer. I was hoping for a little bit more knowing that.
Yeah, I could see that. I do wonder if it doesn't start to open up more. I do feel like normally in a JRPG, even after 9 to 10 hours is not long.
Well, I think the total runtime for this game is averaged at about 20 to 22 hours.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. That's interesting.
So you were about halfway through.
About halfway through the game.
Yeah.
Oh, that's all right. I'm proud to hear that.
That's
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 nice.
pretty good. I was a couple hours behind you, but
I can say then you've gotten most of the experience. Not that I think it's a bad thing. I enjoy the battle mechanic, and I can see that growing, continuing to kind of grow, and as they give you new spells and your enemies are changing, you are realizing there's some more strategy to the battles and to using your layout.
I did want to also briefly talk about the composer. We could also name drop these people. I do have their names on here, unless you wanted to say them.
I write down composer and writer for a reason.
Yeah. Okay. So the writer was Kazushige Nojima, and the composer is Yoshitaka Hirota.
Good job.
Thank you. Over anglicized the pronunciation just to stay in my lane.
It sounds great.
I appreciate that. So the composer, and I do want to preface this with saying, I felt like the music in this game was fairly mid.
Oh, really?
And I don't mean that negatively. I just don't mean I don't think that it shined above, and I don't think it was lackluster. I think it was middle of the road. And I know mid is kind of an insult these days, but that's not how I'm using it.
Okay.
I think it was middle, but I think it was good. It wasn't monotonous or anything like that. It carried. It did well. It was fun. It wasn't extra saucy for me, though. Certainly not compared to, again, some of these other titles.
Okay, let's hear some of these other titles.
So Bomberman 64, The Second Attack. Super Monkey Ball Banana Blitz. I'm a huge Monkey Ball fan.
I do love me some Monkey Ball.
And then he also worked heavily on the sound design for Chrono Trigger and Final Fantasy VI.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
I'm basing my judgment mostly on participation in those last two titles.
I really like the music. I would honestly say I think it's a bit above mid. I can see where you're coming from, where it doesn't do anything new.
Yeah.
It gives the comfy towns, the small towns, that small town music, but it does it well. And what I initially noticed was the what I initially noticed was the quality of the sound that came out.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it was just that I didn't if the clanking of the robot from Solo 2 Robo was just so bad that I just didn't notice it. But the stereo speakers on the DS are they sound surprisingly good, and especially in this game, they utilized it very well. It felt to me.
That's an interesting point. It's something I hadn't considered. Again, worth noting that this is a later title in terms of the DS life cycle. So
absolutely.
I'm sure that probably had some kind of role to play.
I'm sure it does.
Clean audio, though, I'll definitely give you that.
And I liked the music. I thought that was all very well placed, and like you said, none of it gets repetitive. That's something that you run into a lot with RPGs, especially, is where the battle screen music is always the same. And this one, I think, may have been the same. Maybe not. Maybe it changed on location, because I feel like that would have annoyed me. But
yeah, now that you mention it, I don't
recall particularly. So that's a good thing, in my
Yeah.
opinion. If I don't recall the battle music, that's great, because there are a lot of
unless
battles.
it's Final Fantasy. I love Final Fantasy battle music.
That one's repetitive, isn't it?
True, but their main battle sequence music, it usually maintains a certain audio theme, and there's a word for that in music theory. Sue me for not knowing, but it carries a lot of that same melodic theme. But overall, I think any given Final Fantasy game will have 10, 20, maybe 30 different battle sequence soundtracks.
Okay, it's cool.
Again, very similar, but also unique at the same time, especially if you were to sit down and listen through the OST, you'll notice very drastically. And it would make sense if this game did the same thing. It's certainly pretty typical of a turn-based JRPG like this.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't surprise me. Yeah. Not bad.
No,
I liked it.
I enjoyed it. I can see why you call it mid, and why you mean that in a not bad way.
Yeah, not at all.
Because it's very average. It's not like, wow, they really, they how did they put a symphony on here?
Right.
Or this isn't the music I wouldn't think of. There was one part where you're in a ruins part, and they've got that stereotypical, what would you call it, when they're in India or Egypt or anywhere east of Europe, or in somewhere that's,
you get that insert typical desert soundtrack here.
Exactly, desert soundtrack. Yes.
Yeah.
That's they had that, and I immediately, oh, come on.
Yeah, and again, not bad.
No, fits the type. And
I wanted to be cautious so as to not overhype it if I were to just say it was good.
Yeah, especially when you're talking about heavily worked on Chrono Trigger.
Yeah.
That soundtrack is phenomenal.
Yeah, and it doesn't help that we're literally coming off Solo 2 Robo, and that game's saving graces were sound and visuals.
Yeah.
So,
well, speaking of visuals, do we want to get into visuals?
Oh, yeah, we can definitely get into visuals. Right.
So as far as visuals went, I at first did not like them, and then really quickly came to love a lot of things about the visual presentation. They do a black outline around all of the characters, and it has kind of a cel-shaded look to it in a very miniature way.
Yeah.
It's a very, all your sprites are pretty small. One thing I really enjoy about this game is the character design as well. Because in a lot of DS titles, when you're dealing with RPGs, JRPGs, you get these chibi, is that the name for it?
Yeah.
You know, these short, cute characters that are all kind of like they look like little kids that are going through these world-saving battles. And
the Squishmallow rendition of your character.
Yeah, and when you see a lot of those on Nintendo or Super Nintendo especially, they look so much better in the sprite, and you can take it so much more seriously as a sprite than you can as a 3D polygon chibi type character.
Yeah, it detracts from the, like you said, the seriousness and the
gravity. This one they just were small normal looking people. I mean, as normal as some of your type goofy, silly video game characters are, but they were of normal proportions at least.
Yeah.
And then when you were in the battle screen, there's that idle movement that you and the enemies both do. And it was so fluid. They did a great job. It was just fun to encounter new enemies and see what they're going to look like, how they're going to stand there on the battlefield. And your attacks look great. They're really cool. They start to go just immediately from boom to boom, 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 just like these huge explosions on the screen.
You know the character, so when you get to a certain point, you meet a group, they join your party temporarily while you're on the ship. Patroclus?
Yes.
So one, I thought Patroclus was a dude. Patroclus is not a dude. She is in fact a chick.
Yep.
And a fucking dude, her melee attacks, the way they just clunk in, bro, it feels powerful, and the main character
has that too.
It's not as good.
Not as good, but but I mean the way that
his attacks still
his attack just looks good. It's got heft, the way
like
that he swings that sword. You know, I know exactly what you mean.
The animation design was very, very nice.
You don't need vibration to feel that hit.
Agreed. That's such a great way to put it.
So cool how you can feel like your hits are having impact without any like haptic feedback or anything like that.
Oh, and there's a bunch of really nice knockback animations. There's some weird enemy character design model things going on. There's some weird looking shit.
Yeah, there are. There's
you don't know what you're looking at. It looks cool, I think.
There's one that's this like two-legged.
You talking about the tube with the hammerhead eyes?
Like he's got like he looks like a snake slug thing with legs, and he's like grayish blue. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Dude, disgusting.
Yeah, absolutely disgusting. That is actually in the first one.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean this is a very cool modernizing of it. You can see how it had grown into this. This is definitely the image they had for it.
Huh? That's wild.
And it is grotesque and it's creepy. And the first time you encounter it, you think this is a tough boss. You immediately know when something's going to be tougher than something else.
Well, and the game tells you. The game will literally have a little text prompt that pops up and be like, "Oh, hey."
Oh, you thought you were fucking with baddies?
A hard enemy has appeared, and it's all outlined and shit.
It gets red. Yeah, you're like, oh fuck. You get a little anxious, and I just panic and I grab all of my major spells and just dump them on
unload on this motherfucker.
But I think that the visuals are really cool.
It's turned up in the battle sequence.
It is.
And I think
absolutely.
I don't want to get too far ahead, but I think the game was made for the battle system. Honestly, that's where everything I think shines the most. The overworld visuals, I'm gonna say it, blow.
They're lacking.
It is soft, muddled. There's no definition, and it's an overworld. I get it. It is quite every muddled, JRPG like this has a very flat overworld, and that's to be expected. But come on.
Well, I will argue with you as to where there's a point where you're running away from the jail. And when you come out, you're actually elevated above a spot that you're just recently at.
Yeah.
You know, that was a little touch of like, oh, that's something you don't usually see, like actual elevation differences that you can visually tell.
Yeah, true.
And you didn't realize it because you're so used to these muddled, plain, flat overworlds that you didn't even think about this being a higher elevation until now they've put you on top of it, and you're like, oh yeah, I'm up here. This ridge is higher than over there. Now that I realize it.
Yeah.
So I would give it that, but I mean, I feel like an all overworld map.
I didn't mean to overly trash on it. But it is not reminiscent of the beauty to be found.
No, and I hate the controls of how slow you move.
Oh, it's forced walk, and overworld travel is always slow.
Makes sense, right? Because it's a image holder for your whole party on this
Yeah.
big trek, and I'd say each time that you move, you're actually going a mile.
Yeah, but this isn't an Oregon Trail simulator. It's not supposed to take me 15 years to go up the coast.
Well, I think that is part of it. You're in Greece, you know, like, I mean, they even are immediately getting to this whole thing about, like, oh my God, we're getting sidetracked again. Like, this is such a short trip from Sparta to Olympus. Like, it's right there, and you're already, you know, sidewinding.
The only reason I'm bitching is because of the random encounters.
Oh, they are over the top.
There are so, and I'll say it again. The battle system is where this game shines.
It is.
And I still wanted to cut myself every time I hit a random encounter.
Yeah, I especially when you start picking up these items that don't detract enemies from attacking you, but actually attract enemies to attacking you more. And I can't imagine that must be you get out of a battle and you take a step, maybe two, and you're in another battle. Because it's already 3-4 steps max sometimes.
Dude, I hate overworld random encounters. It's just...
It's not just in the overworld, though.
No, it's anywhere that's not a town.
Yeah, anywhere that's not safe and where you can get into a random encounter, going from the shortest point A to B, I feel like I ran at one point when going through a dungeon where... I don't know how to describe it, but it's one of the first rooms in the dungeon where you can actually just do a direct A to B across the room to get to the exit. And I ran all the way across, got down the stairs. So I could not believe I bet it was 12 paces, and I could not believe that I made it without any encounters on that level. I was so stoked.
Yeah, I had one instance where I was confused on where to go. Oh, no. And so I exited a town and I started going north. And then the game was like, hey, fuckhead, maybe you should go back to town. And I was like, my bad, dude. So I started turning around, and then I realized I made it like 20 paces out without an encounter. And it took me like 10 to get back. Bro. I mean, at least you don't ever have to grind. I don't know about you, but I never had to grind.
Nope, never had to grind. And that was something that I also thought as a positive when looking at this game, where that's beneficial. I could see. I also feel that way about Final Fantasy games, where the random encounters are so constant, and that's what's always kept me away from getting into Final Fantasy.
That's fair.
And I think if anything, that's kind of what would stop me from progressing more in this game. But like you said, the game really the shining factor is the combat.
Absolutely.
The story isn't that much to write home about, but it is intriguing enough that I'm wanting to get to continuing on the story. Yeah. So please give me a few less random encounters. I'll go back and grind. It's fine.
Honestly, I'm okay with elective grinding.
Yeah. I agree with you. It's kind of like, all right, let's see how good am I doing too, because I'm going to do a little bit of a side grind on my way already.
Yeah.
To see if my team is set up well enough to beat the upcoming boss without having to go back and do that elective grinding.
Well, and it's worth noting that this game doesn't really have any other option for side quest XP grinding except random encounters. There aren't really side quests. There's a couple of here and there things, but not really.
No, and I guess that's where the game comes in at such a short time. I don't mind that.
No, I wasn't mad about it. I will say, and I mentioned this earlier to you, my biggest point of frustration in this game, 110%, was trying to figure out what the trigger was to bring up the next part of the cutscene, the story, whatever. The game would give you a hint as to what's going on, and then it's up to you to explore and talk to people and visit the shops and leave town and go up north until it tells you to turn around and, I guess it's not that way. I struggled with that.
Yeah, and it because too, it's sometimes it's very direct.
Yeah.
Of where you need to go, what you need to do to progress the story, to get that trigger, to get it to continue on. Other times, the conversation just ends. And
yeah,
especially as an RPG game, you're like, this isn't where I would end the conversation.
No.
I think maybe we should ask this guy a couple more things. and get some
Yeah,
clues,
I
and then
think
you go to talk to him, and you have pretty much the same conversation you just had. And like, oh, that's it. That's all I'm
that
getting.
was all the dialogue you had, yeah.
And then you run into there's a lot of random encounters. So am I going to have to go back out over here to get this thing to trigger? And if not, then now I'm going to have to spend like an extra 10, 15 minutes to get my way out and back to then get back into town to find out, nope, you're supposed to go out this exit and then we'll start up the cutscene.
Dude, that sucked. I hated that. I did not enjoy that part.
No, I didn't either.
That first town you get into, it's after the ship, that first ship ride.
Yep.
You get to that town, and you have to talk to a bunch of NPCs in sequence, and then like at one point you're all having a conversation in this guy's house. You have a little cutscene, and the ship dude is like, all right, I'm gonna go check on my ships, and he's out, and you're like, okay, cool. And then they're like, hey, you guys should sleep here, and you're like, sick. Conversation ends. You have to then go talk to the wife who's in the kitchen, and she tells you, oh, stay for supper, it'll be ready soon, you should check out the shops in the meantime. And then you go into one of the shops, and then when you exit that one shop, there's some trigger, and then something else happens.
Yes, I know.
And then
yes,
dude,
dude,
and I had been in every
shop.
shop. I had been in every building. I went outside on both ends. I went to the ship. Whoa, dude. Yeah. That was brutal. That took me and once I got to the end of it, had I known or been given any kind of pointer, oh, this is what you're doing next, I mean, I could have blitzed through that in like 5 minutes, and it took me almost an hour. I bought everything from all the shops.
Yeah, and I remember thinking, I kind of enjoy this, having to talk to everybody, having to figure out who to talk to get this to progress. But then it loses any sense of reason or giving you any direction of who to talk to.
If it at least made sense, or it was like, hey, go talk to Stacy, she's outside the general shop, I'd be like, oh, I should have paid attention when they told me what the icons were on the map. But, anything, like, I like clues, and that's one of the things that I like the most about exploring new Zelda titles, or old Zelda games. They do a good job of keying you in, and a lot of games do this. I'm just particular about Zelda, but not something that was present here. And from a writing perspective, I think that's where the story really fell flat for me. Is just it gave you no game direction, and you have to do that. You have to tell your player, this is what you're doing next. This is where you're going. And there's nowhere in the game that you can see what your objective is. There's no quest. There's no chapter title. There's nothing.
Yeah, I that was especially when you got to the part where you're supposed to go to jail, basically.
Yeah.
And the game does a great job. The first time you go to steal something from someone's cabinet, are you sure you're going to take that?
Yeah.
No, you're right. I'm the hero. I shouldn't. And at least that was my mindset. I'm immediately like, no, I'm not going to.
Oh, you didn't steal something your first time?
No.
Dude, the second I opened that first cabinet, which I didn't know you could do until I was just dead by accident, and little homie's like, bro, you really gonna take that Snickers bar? And I'm like,
yeah.
Fuck yeah, I am, dude. Some idiot left it in this cabinet up here in their own house. I'm definitely taking it. And then did you ever steal something?
I did.
Okay, yeah. Your entire party's luck falls.
Yeah, your luck falls. And I only did it because, first I feel guilty, so I'm not going to do it, right?
Yeah.
And then we get to this part where you get to the game, and in order to visit someone in the jail to ask them some questions, you have to get arrested. And so I'm trying to figure out, how do I get arrested? They're like, well, if you go... They make some references about stealing from an item shop or this and that. Mm-hmm. So first I go in trying to interact with the shopkeeper, and no, you can't. You can't steal anything from the buy menu, obviously. Right. So then I go up to the cabinet right in front of her and take something out of it. And not only does your luck go down, but the person with you has the best way of making you feel bad about yourself.
undercut the shit out of you,
Like,
dude.
oh, it's not
Just
much of
to
a
the
hero
core.
move, is it? I guess since you're a hero, you can do whatever you want, huh? Like, fuck.
Yeah, with great power comes great responsibility, huh? My ass.
Fucking
Yeah, it's
asshole. So
yeah, it really
then
guilty
my
on
luck
that.
goes down, and I'm like, come on. I only did this because I was told to do it. I didn't want to steal it. This whole time I've been a good boy.
Yeah, it's not a Santa Claus list ruling here, unfortunately.
But then that was another one where you have to talk around a bunch of different people that have nothing to do with this,
No.
So I agree that was a very hard part too.
Yeah.
But if it didn't have that, I would reference this game to I Am Setsuna. Did you ever
I did not
check
play that
game
one.
out?
Mm-mm.
I believe that had either inspirations from or some people from the team of like Chrono Trigger
Okay.
or something along a group along those lines. And it was very similar in that sense of it being a direct RPG where there's no side quests. It's just
We were just trucking.
through this journey,
Hell yeah.
and
Big
there's
fan.
something nice about that where you don't have to worry about missing out on anything.
Yeah, I do miss those. Because I like sandboxy. I like that option too, but sometimes it's nice to just be along for the ride, and you're just playing it.
Yep, you're playing it and you're just
Mhm.
taking the story, and you don't even get much of a say in what you're saying or
Yeah,
anything.
a
It's
Rails
just-
RPG.
Yeah, it's kind of nice, especially when you're on a time limit like ours.
Yeah, that's true. I always feel bad for not being able to, explore all the nooks and crannies and get to all the different places. But this one was pretty hard to miss anything, really.
Yeah, it really. I mean, you had to make a mental decision of like you'd see a treasure chest over there, and so the game knew it had too many random encounters. When the only thing stopping you to go in and open that treasure chest
Is the distance.
in the battle.
Yo, that's like 6 battles.
Yeah,
worth of-
easily. That's not worth whatever
There's
is in there.
no way
Not
there's a
worth it.
legendary something in there. No. Yeah.
They did have though this mechanic of polishing weapons.
Yeah.
So any of the rusty weapons that you pick up in battle, I don't know if you don't get them in battle. I think you just get them in the dungeons and like in treasure chests and random places.
Yeah.
And the chance of that getting polished for like 60 coins, which wasn't bad,
Yeah.
to see if it came out as a badass weapon, immediate addiction. It was just like, oh, I know where I left some chests at. I'm gonna go back
Yep.
and fucking see if this is like a sweet ass sword.
Yeah.
But it's never worth it.
Yeah. GOH's rendition of CS:GO loot crates all
Yeah.
day, bro.
Absolutely.
Give me those skins.
So moving on to the battle system, there is a
Oh boy.
lot to talk about here. To begin with, you're on a 5x4 grid.
Is it even that?
I believe it's that because you have the most people you have in your party that you can have on the grid are 5,
Yeah.
and then 4 because you have 2 lines on your side that your team is on.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
And then 2 on the
You're
other
counting
side,
the enemy
and then
slots
on
too.
the enemy
I gotcha.
side, and then it's split in half.
Yeah, so you got like a divide between
the 5
where your
4.
environment is or what have you.
Yep,
Yeah.
and then that immediately I enjoyed. I think that was one of the things that pulled me into wanting to play this game when I had seen footage of it,
Mm-hmm.
because as we discussed earlier, I'm not big on strategy RPGs,
Yeah.
but seeing such a small grid that you have to worry about moving around,
Yeah.
and you don't have to go all the way up onto their grid and attack them. It's just really a way of saying you're in the front line, you're in the back line.
You're in the back. Yep.
The person in the back is only going to get attacked by spells or arrows,
Yeah.
and then some special attacks. They can like charge back there and get you, but you don't have to worry about moving your people besides forward or back.
Right.
And I always kept one of my magic users in the back, the rest of my attackers in the front,
Yep.
and then you have the same deal going on with your enemies, where you can only physically attack people in their front line and use magic or arrows on the back line.
Yeah.
Then you get into first, just quickly as I can cover it, you have MP,
Yep.
which is your magic
Got
points
your magic.
in any game. But on top of that, at the top screen, and there are like 5 different colored spheres
Mm-hmm.
with numbers. Usually like 500 is the number next to them.
Yep.
And there's a red one, a green one, a blue one, a purple one, and there's one other one I think I'm missing.
I think it's black.
Is it? I don't know.
Wasn't it?
I don't know what it was.
No.
Anywho, they all are pretty much elemental colors. And so if I have 2 people using heavy fire attacks, that may, although everyone else still has their MP, they're not going to be able to use those fire attacks because you've drained all of that red sphere down to 0.
Yep.
You can still make a last strike effort type deal.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it kills you. Does it always kill you, or does it just take away some health?
I never actually.
Oh, I got into where I had to.
Oh.
Tried last ditch effort. Just fucking
Blast
it. If you have the MP, but say I'm minded to use a fire attack, I'm out of the fire mana, but I still have MP. I can attack with that fire attack still, using my health.
Oh,
And
so Sack's health.
every time I use it,
Interesting.
it killed my people.
Oh shit. Okay.
So it takes a lot of health.
So I'm not gonna lie. I must have missed the explanation for that mechanic in the tutorial, and I just thought it was an unexplained mechanic that would be yet revealed later. And
You know, I'm trying to
I was just kind of
remember.
winging it.
I'm trying to remember if it explains it or not.
Yeah, I never had it figured out. I figured they'll give me the juice at some point, and it just never came.
I just immediately.
So I never really. But I also didn't use magic very heavily. The magic system in this game is pretty unique. It's very typical in that you use MP to cast spells, and it has like a nifty little auto or extra, we'll call it, input means whenever you cast a spell, you can just let it cast the spell, which is exactly what it sounds like, or you can play like a little mini game to boost the magic power of the spell, and it'll give it some kind of multiplier for the damage.
Like an example of that mini game being,
God.
you've got the one that I quite enjoyed, where it's a circle, and you have to tap within the circle really fast to get it smaller and smaller, and then they add in 2 circles that are moving around, and you have to go between them simultaneously to get them smaller and smaller at the same time. And if you don't go between the 2 of them, it does not work. You can't do one at a time.
Right.
You have to do them both. And then you've got the one where you've got the Roman numerals 1 and 2, and you have to drag these dots that say 1 or 2 on them into the 1 or 2 spot, which is a really silly game. It's
They're super
really
simple.
simple. I ran into issues with that one a lot.
Well,
the Roman numeral one.
So there's something coded into it. If you try to drag the orb over too quickly, you'll quote unquote drop it or something.
Yep.
It was, you had to go very slow and steady, and it was gimmicky for sure. They were like, I mean, what would you say, 15, maybe even more different of these
With the
magic
variants
casting
and everything. Yeah.
power up minigame things.
Yeah, I would say, I don't think I got into all of them, but you see a list. You're given a list that you can do, and you can see all the open spots for what they're going to become.
Yeah, there's quite a few.
Yeah.
It was an unexpected mechanic, and honestly a pretty decent one for the stylus as far as I'm concerned.
I did enjoy it. I would have enjoyed it more had there been less random encounters.
Oh, agreed.
Because then you're just going through auto after a while. You
Yeah.
know, it wasn't that I didn't like it, because like you said, you can play the game without ever using your stylus.
100%.
You never have to touch it. But you can also play it 100% with your stylus.
True. You
And that's
can.
very cool as well.
Yeah, I didn't quite prefer that method, but I did use it from time to time.
I used it when I was at the bar. And I was like waiting for Morgan to pick me up, so I'm just like sitting at the bar just playing my DS. But rather than, being a show off that I'm sitting there playing video games, I just had it sitting there on bar.
Oh,
just
posh.
Incognito, just using the stylus to play
Like
the game.
a gentleman gamer.
A gentleman
Wow.
gamer.
I
I don't
like
want to put
that.
it in your face, peasants.
Peasants. I like that. The coming back to the magic system, it felt like MP was kind of a precious resource. There was no in between battle regen. If I remember right, I'm pretty sure you regen on level up.
You regen MP, so
There are a
there
few
are
triggers that
different-
will fully regen.
So it was something I couldn't figure out, and I didn't know if it was like, I don't know if it's equipment that my main character has on,
Mm-hmm.
where he regens it like every turn.
So there are terrain bonuses that you might be benefiting from, and those will generally give you like a 3 or 4 MP regen per
He gets
round
10.
start. But there are one of the other very robust systems of the game would be the equipment management. A lot of the items, be they armor or a weapon or a secondary weapon, what have you, a lot of them have both active and passive skills tied to them. And, and then the amount of skills and magic spells that you can gain access to is asinine.
And it starts to just give them to you. At first it's slowly just giving you a few. You just have like 3 for each character, and then it just lays on 2 pages of spells that you can do. Like,
yeah, so you can visit these temples to some of the different gods in Mythos, and basically there's a tablet and a fairy, and you go and you interact with the tablet and you pray to the god, and the god bestows the potential for knowledge upon you, unlocking 6 to 10 different spells that you can't cast right away. You basically just have to farm XP, and eventually you will gain enough XP, and you'll be able to. Basically, you level up once or twice, and then you can use the spells. That's generally the gist.
That's generally about how long it takes you.
And then you talk to the fairy, and she will give you the opportunity to learn an upgraded version or more difficult version of one of your power-up minigame,
which is used
things.
For your stronger attacks.
Right. Yeah, because you basically, at whatever tier the spell is, you have access to those tier of minigames.
Yep. They start to get kind of hard, actually.
Some of them do, and especially it really, I think, pushed the accuracy and the usability of the touchscreen kind of to its limits, which was. It was still okay. It honestly wasn't bad. I didn't find myself getting too frustrated with the controls themselves. Still very not on the same level of today's touchscreens in terms of accuracy.
No, it's definitely not.
And those touch and slide games, those were the worst.
Those
for
were
sure,
the worst.
because
But
there's definitely a lot of lost input along the slide.
it had to be something with the coding, like you said.
Yeah,
Because with the other ones, I didn't have any issues. Where you have the ball or the circle moving around really fast, and you have to get inside of it. I had no problem with those.
Yeah.
But just that Roman numeral one. Which another thing I thought was funny, and this is going to really show you my lack of education here. Would the Greek use Roman numerals
it depends on when.
when the story is taking place of the glory of Heracles?
Well, so don't forget about the Roman Empire. Everybody was using Roman numerals after that.
Right. So
it just depends on when in history.
okay.
But yeah, everybody was using Roman numerals after a certain point.
But I mean, like the ancient Greek, obviously, were not using Roman numerals.
Man, I don't remember exactly what numbers looked like in Greek. But no, I'm fairly certain they had their own lexicon for it.
That gave me a little giggle, I did notice though that your gold it has a D, as like the currency.
Yeah.
They don't really say what the currency is. They say like you can see you have 100 D or 2,000 D to spend at the store, and certain things cost so many D. I looked it up in the ancient Greek currency. It was I don't remember the name of it, but it did start with a D.
I'll have to look it up because now I want to know. I didn't even think about it that much, to be honest.
I always wonder what currencies are supposed to be, or what they're supposed to represent. There's a fun YouTube series about what prices. I guess it's not a series, but a video about the price of how much money a Pokemon trainer makes by the time they go through and beat the Elite Four.
Oh yeah.
And first to do that, they had to find an in-game product that was a real life product.
Oh, that had a price attached to
Yeah,
it.
and so that's a whole thing they go through, and then they figure that out.
Blow out the economics of the entire game
And then
world.
figure out the whole thing.
That's awesome.
Those are really fun.
The Greek, ancient Greek currency was the drachma.
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 There you go. There's the D.
Probably killing the pronunciation, but whatever.
Yeah, well,
But that makes sense.
dead language, right? Nope. Greece is still
No,
still
exists.
still exists.
Latin is dead.
Latin is.
Yeah, we killed that one.
Yep. Public education.
Yeah,
I
sure.
didn't go to school. You know, those things.
No.
I was too busy playing DS games to
Yeah.
go to school.
Yeah.
So then
Education is unneeded here.
especially when you're making a podcast.
Yeah. You don't have to be educated.
No.
Not
Joe
anymore.
Rogan's doing it.
Isn't he like hella educated?
Yeah, probably.
I don't know. That's how uneducated I am. I don't even know.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
so uneducated. I don't even know who's educated.
That's right.
I did want to talk about the two-headed dog that you have to fight.
Oh yeah.
That was a very smart battle.
I know you liked that one.
I struggled with that one. It took me so long. I had to actually reference to the one and only GameFAQs guide.
Nice.
There's only one on there. So this was a game a lot of people really missed, which is kind of funny because everyone calls Solitaire Robo a hidden gem. This, to me, is kind of more of a hidden gem than Sola.
Yeah. I'd probably put them in the same-ish bucket for different reasons.
Yeah, well, we'll definitely be getting to that.
Yes.
So, with the dog, he multiplies after each battle sequence.
Mm-hmm.
And I was really confused because when I would kill the clone, which takes obviously way less hits than the OG,
Mm-hmm.
I thought I was killing the OG and that you had to somehow kill both of them in the same turn before he could move. Otherwise, they're just going to keep duplicating. And so I was just getting so frustrated. I wouldn't even let the battle really play out all the way. I'd give up partway through and be like, I can't get all these guys lined up in the same amount of damage.
Yeah.
And finally looked it up, played it through, and I enjoyed that battle. I thought it was
a good one.
A very well paced. You got to have someone focused on healing.
Mm-hmm.
Someone you can focus for a few rounds on the main guy, and then after one or two times, you have to have someone focus on the side characters, the clones that have come in from the enemy. It was fun. It was stressful. I mean, you really felt the tension because before that battle, you have a smaller battle that's supposed to be like the big battle, where you're saving this little girl from these monsters. Once you kill those, then this two-headed Orthos, is that his name?
Yeah, I think so.
Comes in and you have to battle him. So your MP is already drained.
Yep.
I don't remember, but I don't believe it fully restores the magic elemental stuff that you have to pull from.
Yeah.
And so you're limited on the attacks that you can throw out at this thing.
Oh yeah, you're partially drained going in.
Yeah, and it's the hardest battle you've been in so far.
Oh, for sure. And it was definitely a good one. I would say I probably used auto attack on 95% of the battles. I think that one was definitely one where I sat up in my gamer seat.
Was auto attack? Do you mean when you say that because there is?
I mean the auto button.
Because there's an auto button at the bottom right.
Yep.
That's what you're talking about?
Yes.
So does that just choose the attack for you?
Yeah, so the game has the auto system, and so you can go into the system settings and you can configure auto, and there's the auto, which is just let the AI decide what the best thing for your character to do at any given moment on any given turn.
Right.
And it will do that. Otherwise, you can go to manual auto, which basically allows you to set the tolerance for various categories of play style, if you will. So you can set an aggressive attack style. You can set I think there's a tolerance setting for like healing and rejuvenation type things, if you will. And so you can set, oh, this is my healer character. I'm gonna make them be more focused on healing with their auto, or you can just leave it on auto, which is what I did.
I used it once, and I thought, man, that's a lot of ways to move to get to the auto button, rather than just hitting attack.
Yeah,
which is what auto does 90% of the time, to my knowledge. I didn't use it
True.
very much. Right?
It will use skills and magic, but otherwise, yeah, you can't just spam attack. But what I realized is because I was usually not playing with the stylus, but for me to hit A and for me to just lean over and just tap on auto in the bottom corner of the screen took the exact same. And once I figured out that, I was autoing everything.
See, and you did make a comment earlier about how the stylus is kind of not so great in this game, but I did also find myself doing a similar thing where I would just use my fingers instead of the stylus.
Yeah.
And it worked.
That worked fine, honestly fine. Yeah.
Better than it does in some other games.
For sure. The buttons are definitely spaced out just far enough that it works most of the time. I got sausages for thumbs, so,
Even with the stylus, I ran into issues with the menu. I could have sworn I hit the right spot, and it just catches you on the wrong,
And that could be the screen protector, too. You never know.
That's true.
Could be hard to say.
Aside from that, though, I think we've pretty well covered.
Yeah, there's not a lot left to be said about the game, I don't think.
I guess normally this is where we'd move into story, but I think we've really covered that too, as lightly as we've touched on it.
Yeah.
As far as I've gotten in it, there isn't a lot to be said about it.
No.
It's not bad. It's not great. It's just there to move you along to new locations.
Yeah. You're an amnesiac, right? Amnesiac?
Yep.
Wow, that sounded weird coming out. You're an amnesiac trying to figure out why you're immortal. You find another guy. He's like, well, damn. Why am I immortal? And then it's just a bunch of curious immortals trying to figure out why they're immortal, trying to get up to Olympus.
Which is it's a fun basis for a story.
Yeah.
That it's there. It's all right.
Don't really care about any of the characters too much.
No, I would say
pretty shallow.
There's a part where you lose the captain of the ship. He moves on to his own thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of bummed me out because I like the captain. But then he gets replaced with a spunky little girl, and you're like, well, who doesn't like a spunky
the side
little...
characters, the cannon fodder party members that the game feeds you periodically in the various legs of the story are honestly more endearing than the main character.
Yeah.
The main
two main
characters.
characters.
Yeah.
No, I agree, especially the other guy that you get out of jail.
Mm-hmm.
He's a blast. He's hilarious.
Good time.
Yeah. And once again, while the story wasn't great, visuals come through here in the storytelling when your whole squad is talking to somebody and then they need to talk to each other. They actually all turn into a circle.
Yeah.
And talk, and the cutscenes play out just so smoothly. They remind me almost of like that early Prince of Persia tracking type deal they used with that.
Yeah. No, I feel
how
that.
smoothly they pick up there's a part where you kick some guy's ass, and one of the guys picks up his partner off the ground and drags him away with him.
Yeah.
It looks
and he
good.
just straight up drags him all across
the
off
whole
screen.
Thing. Yeah. There's in a lot of these RPG cutscenes, everyone's just standing there.
Yeah, you just have like a name card with some dialogue or something.
Yeah, it just
usually
comes up and the story's being told, and you just you know what's going on. But in this, it actually shows you
you have actual
what's happening.
Scenes.
It's pretty cool. I like that a lot. While the story didn't have a lot to give, the telling of it was well done.
Yeah, I will definitely concede that.
Moving on to our very important and totally not arbitrary and pointless ranking system.
Yes. The most prestigious, the most accurate part of the cast.
It's the only review you should listen to in the world. Doesn't matter if you're an Xbox only gamer.
Yeah.
I'm sure that they have a spin-off version on here, and we'll let you know how it is.
Absolutely.
And you can base your opinion off that, of whether you're going to get the game or not.
Yeah. Just stick around for an indefinite amount of time until we review said title.
Yeah, I mean, you got 30 years to kill.
Yeah, but don't play that game until we tell you to.
Don't you fucking dare. All right, first
Story.
story.
I'm going with a 4.
I'm gonna give it a 5.
Wow,
Yeah,
that was nice of you.
It was alright. It was cute. It's fun.
It was okay.
Yeah.
It was alright. It was alright.
There are definitely parts where
Gameplay.
I give it a gameplay in general is hard with this one because you have such highs and such low lows.
Yeah.
I will give it a 7.
Okay, I was also gonna give it a 7.
All
I
right.
think the battle system carried it through gameplay wise.
Yeah.
Sound, audio.
I'm gonna give this one if we gave Sola a 9, I gotta give this one. See, this is why I don't like these ranking systems.
Yeah, nobody does, dude.
I gotta give this one a 9 out of 10 as well. I almost give it a
Really?
9.5
Really?
because I thought it was better than Sola to Robos.
Ooh, okay. I'm sweating on a 7. I feel like 7's fair
You
though.
can feel how you want.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I appreciate
It's
that.
fine.
As can you.
Yeah.
As can you. Stylus, good, bad, true, false.
Good.
Yeah.
Very good.
Also gonna give it a good.
Especially just you can use it through the whole game. You don't have to use it at all. I really enjoy that. And
Me too.
then when I didn't think there would be a time when I would want to use the stylus, and then there absolutely was. And when I did, it played just great.
I can't agree with you more. Balanced, beautiful visuals.
I gotta give that probably a 9 out of 10 again.
9 out of 10. I'm gonna give it an 8.
I would like to give it less, but I don't know what we gave Sola.
Solar rated really high. In fact, I can look it up.
Well, then I'll just say I would like to give it an 8 then, without even knowing what I gave Sola.
Okay,
I'm just gonna give it an 8 out of 10. Like
All
I
right.
think that sounds good
that's fair.
because they were good. They were really good. There's probably some way better ones out there. We are later into the life cycle, so maybe not. Maybe this is, we'll see.
Okay. So that brings us.
Wait, we're forgetting one
I wondered if you were gonna remember.
because
This game didn't have a single ladder.
no, it did not.
Nope,
Stairs.
just stairs. No ladders.
We're just gonna NA it then.
I thought that meant it was good.
I mean, I wouldn't say it's good. Like that's like saying that you're a good skier because you don't go skiing.
Well, we rated Solo 2 Robo good on its usage of the stylus because there wasn't any.
Yeah, well, here at Pocket Cast, we believe in double standards.
Ah, shit.
I like this game more than I like Solo 2 Robo. I'm gonna just say it flat out. This game is way better than Solo 2 Robo.
Yeah, I'm not fighting you there.
There's still another one that we are missing.
What?
Crossdresser.
Oh, we didn't talk about. Did we?
I thought we ranked about cross dressing.
Did we rank?
I thought
Almond? I don't
maybe I
remember.
just
We talked
wanted
about
to.
it.
Maybe I just wanted it to be like a 10 out of 10.
Dude, are you
on
sure you don't want to go
cross-dressing.
back to Solo 2 Robo just for Almond?
Well, there's a cross dresser in this one, who is not
is
as
true.
enjoyable as Almond.
No, it was just weird.
I mean, so speaking to Morgan about it, I guess it's a thing in Greek mythology where like oracles
True.
are often cross dressers, and people of power would often be cross dressers.
Very true.
Yeah,
That's a good point. I knew that fact. Didn't even think
didn't
about it.
consider it, huh?
Nope.
Yeah, I told Morgan about. Yeah, it's funny. There's another cross dresser. We have another game.
Yeah.
There's a cross dresser. It's pretty funny.
Where does that leave us here? That gives us round up, round down.
Round up. I like the game.
All right. That brings us in at a solid 8.
It's
How do you
better
feel?
than-
How do you
better
feel
than
about
Solo.
that?
Yeah.
Solo came in at 6. And honestly,
I thought we were gonna hit 7 out of 10 as the average on this one. So
honestly, that's kind of where I thought we'd be too. I'm not mad about the 8. I had a good time. Definitely enjoyed it more than Solo, so I can't be too mad about that.
yeah, I definitely this past 2 weeks flew by. I think I might keep playing it. I don't know. It's hard to say because of the amount of random encounters.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can.
I think if
Keep
I
going.
came back to it with the mindset of I'm just going to enjoy the battle system, that would probably drastically change my perspective.
Once again, same thing we felt about Solo a little bit.
Yeah.
Not on a time crunch. Might have enjoyed
Probably
it
different.
more.
Yeah.
But realistically,
That's the nature of the game, baby. Cater to our weirdly specific standards.
well, and as an adult, right? You're always pushed for time.
Dude, I got so much shit going on right now. It's insane.
And when you're dealing with the DS title, I'd like to have more progress happen in a shorter amount of time because of that pick up and play, put it in my pocket, pull it out and play it a little bit. I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe I eat those words too because I do like an elongated game. Elongated game.
Ooh, elongated games.
That's our new publishing
Trademarked.
TM.
That's us.
Yep.
Don't steal it. No, I'm with you. That is the one drawback to this.
Yeah.
Right?
So hopefully this next.
I mean, I've got a RuneScape account, so that I still probably will continue to play. So, how much time can I really commit to these titles? We'll find out. Stay tuned.
On the next episode. What we're looking at now is randomizing some games and seeing what we're playing next week.
Yeah, let's go for it. Spin the wheel. Tell me where to direct my focus.
And with such excitement of the randomizer wheel, Fletcher and Ed forgot to hit record. The game that it chose was Professor Layton and the Curious Village. The boys were ecstatic. Find out more on the next episode. But before that, enjoy this blooper. Hello and welcome to Pocket Cast. We are really bad at intros.
Oh, the worst.
We are my best friend Ed and co-host. God, we just gotta start over.
Yeah. Do you want to script it?